Medical imaging is a vital tool used in the medical profession for diagnosis and imaging of different components of the body. It allows for high-definition visual representation of organs and tissues. This animation will contain information regarding echocardiography, a medical imaging tool. Echocardiography, or echo, is a painless test that uses ultrasound waves to create moving pictures of your heart. The pictures show the size and shape of your heart. They also show how well your heart's chambers and valves are working. There are several types of echocardiography, including transthoracic, stress, transesophageal, fetal, and three-dimensional echocardiography. This animation will focus on the transthoracic echocardiogram, or echocardiography. Echocardiography was first invented by Inge Edler and his physicist friend Helmuth Hertz. The invention marked the beginning of new diagnostic, non-invasive technique. The duo primarily used this technique for the pre-operative study of mitral stenosis and diagnosis of mitral regurgitation. His work was carried forward by cardiologists all over the world who developed Doppler, two-dimensional, contrast, and transesophageal echocardiography. These are now standard in cardiologic examinations. Edler also influenced neurologists and obstetricians at Lund University, Sweden, to use ultrasound in their fields. For this landmark discovery, Edler is recognized as the father of echocardiography. Echocardiography uses ultrasound waves to produce images of the heart. Sound is characterized by its frequency and its intensity. Ultrasound is sound of frequency higher than 20 kHz, which cannot be perceived by the human ear. Echocardiography uses ultrasounds of frequencies ranging from 1.5 to 7.5 MHz. The nature of the material in which the sound travels determines its velocity. The speed of sound in air is 343 meters per second, while in the heart tissue, the velocity is 1540 meters per second. Sound is longitudinal mechanical wave that travels parallel to its direction. All waves have the following characteristics: frequency, period, wavelength, propagation, speed, amplitude, and intensity. Frequency, period, amplitude, and intensity are determined by the sound source. Propagation speed is determined by the medium, and wavelength is determined by both the source and medium. In medical ultrasound, there is a trade-off between penetration and resolution. Waves with higher frequency have better resolution but less penetration, and vice versa. At the core of each machine is a transducer, which encompasses piezoelectric crystals. The transducer works as an emitter and a receiver. When voltages are applied to the crystal, they vibrate and transmit ultrasound waves. These waves echo back to the transducer, which cause the crystals to vibrate. These vibrations are converted into electric signals, which are analyzed by the echocardiography machine. Sound waves continue to travel through tissue until they hit a boundary of two different tissues. At this tissue interface, some of the sound waves will be reflected back, and some will continue to travel through to the next tissue. The sound waves that are reflected back create the echo, which is picked up by the transducer and converted into an electric pulse. This electric pulse is then sent to the computer display. The computer or display calculates the time taken by the electrical pulse to make the round trip into the body and back, and determines where on the display the depth a dot is projected. The intensity of the reflected echo determines what shade of gray, from light to dark. During a transthoracic echocardiogram, the sonographer will put a cool gel on your chest. A transducer will be moved firmly through the gel. This will send painless sound waves through your skin. These sound waves will reflect off your heart and will be received by the transducer, which will then convert the electric signals into moving images of the heart muscles. chambers, and valves on a video screen. The main benefit of an echocardiogram is the fact that it is painless, with minimal side effects to the patient. Other advantages of echocardiography include its availability, relative low capital cost, and incremental value in that it allows characterization of cardiac anatomy, as well as the myocardial response. Major drawback of ultrasound is the fact that it cannot be transmitted through a gaseous medium like air or lung tissue. In clinical echo, certain windows are used to image the heart and avoid the lungs. As ultrasound transverses tissue, its energy decreases. This is called attenuation. The future of ultrasound diagnosis is the development of remote ultrasound devices, allowing people in rural areas and third world countries to have access to diagnoses that prevent birth complications and other health complications. Using ultrasound technology as a diagnostic tool is a much less expensive and oftentimes safer way to diagnose illnesses compared to CT scans and MRIs. As the technology advances, different uses and diagnostic strategies are being developed, saving lives the world over.